Hi everybody. Today I am here with my 2026 priority TBR. A couple of these books were mentioned in my reading progress video from yesterday, so you may hear some duplicated books, but there will be updated reading progress for those. Okay, so some of these books that I'm going to be mentioning are new releases that I have on pre-order. So I will say when the books are being released. The first book on the list is the second book in the Beartown series by Friedrich Bachmann, Us Against You. The next book is Harry Potter and Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling. I have not gotten around to the last two Harry Potter books yet because they are long. So I am waiting until I don't have as many books to read. Primarily, I think I'm going to actually wait until July when I only have Starshipped and The Shippers to read the rest of the Harry Potter series. Number 3 is Daggerbound, which is the sequel to Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher was one of my top rated books of last year. It's a fairy tale retelling that seems very reminiscent to me, at least, of The Princess Bride. So I'm really excited for the sequel, which is coming out later this winter. Number 3 on my list is The Future Saints, which is Ashley Winstead's new release. She is the person who wrote In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, Midnight is the Darkest Hour. And there was one more book I read by her that I liked. I did not like Midnight is the Darkest Hour. But In My Dreams I Hold a Knife was 5 stars. Oh, and the other book by her, I think, is something about wives or something. I don't remember the exact name of it. But I haven't read that one yet. But The Future Saint sounds very similar to Daisy Jones and the Six. And I'm very excited because I love Daisy Jones and the Six. I just recently got through my 3rd or 4th reread of that book at the end of October, right around Halloween. Number 5 is Fallen City by Adrienne Young. This is this author's release from September. I have heard mixed reviews about it. I have also had pretty mixed reviews of her other books. Her release from January, Sea of Unspoken Things, was 3 stars. The Unmaking of Junipero was 5 stars. And Spells for Forgetting was 4.5 stars. So I'm excited to see what this book is about. I don't have the description of it in front of me right now, so I can't tell you what the synopsis is, unfortunately. The next book is Just Friends. So I am anticipating this new release because it is by one of my favorite booktubers, Haley Pham. It is her debut romance novel, and I'm super excited about it. I have been following Haley's YouTube channel since 2023, and she started to write her book at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, so I'm super excited. But unfortunately, the ARC reviews I have seen of it on YouTube are less than favorable, so that makes me a little bit reluctant to read it. But I hope that I will like it, and I hope that I will give it a higher rating than the ARC reviewers have given it. The next book is a book that I just purchased that should be coming in the mail in the next couple of days because I just bought it with a gift card I got for Christmas. It's called The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This was one of the top fiction picks for the Goodreads Choice Awards. It did not win. My Friends by Friedrich Bachman won, which was well-deserved. But this has gotten really good reviews on Goodreads, so I'm really excited to read it. It's basically a novel in letters, so I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. The next book that is on 26 books I want to read 2026 is right here. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I talked about this in my reading progress video that I posted yesterday, but since yesterday, I have made it to page 331, chapter 29. The next book on my list is A Man Called Ove, which is another book that was mentioned in yesterday's reading progress video. As I was saying in yesterday's video, I have previously read this book in 2022 before I moved to Maine. I read this book, then before we moved here, we saw the movie at Chunky's Cinema with our friends. And it was one of Tom Hanks's best performances. I'm just going to let that opinion be known. After today, I am currently on page 138, chapter 17. Number 10 is Most Ardently Yours by Freya Sampson. This is a new release that is coming out in August, and it is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which I am looking forward to reading after reading a not-so-great retelling of Pride and Prejudice earlier this year called Most Ardently Yours, which was recommended to me by Carrie at Carrie Can Reads. I gave that book 2 stars because it was about a person who was coming out as transgender in the time period of Pride and Prejudice, and I just don't think the author of this book really wrote the transgender character very well, which was kind of disappointing because that's the whole reason I wanted to read this book for Pride Month. Another Pride and Prejudice retelling that I read for my Christmas TBR was Pride and Prejudice and Mistletoe by Melissa de la Cruz, which is essentially a Pride and Prejudice retelling set during Christmas, which was really cute and really sweet. I gave it 4 stars. Another book by Melissa de la Cruz I read earlier this year was Snow and Poison, which is a modern retelling of Snow White, which I also gave 4 stars. A couple of people I follow on YouTube are talking about Melissa de la Cruz's new book, which is coming out at the end of January. It's called Rings of Fate, and it is a modern retelling of The Princess Bride, which I'm excited about because The Princess Bride is a movie I remember watching when I was at my neighbor's house in Amherst because she was babysitting me. She was older than me by a couple of years, so I was watching it with her and her friend. This was my, and like the jokes went over my head as a kid, but I recently watched The Princess Bride a couple of years ago, and I just found the jokes to be funny, and I am hopefully going to be rewatching that movie again pretty soon in honor of Rob Reiner's recent passing. Number 11 is In Your Dreams, which is the final book in the When in Rome series by Sarah Adams. I am currently rereading the whole series of Rome, Kentucky from the beginning. Right now, I am halfway through the second book, Practice Makes Perfect, and next I will be reading Beg, Borrow, or Steal again. And then I have pre-ordered In Your Dreams at the romance bookstore that's down the street from my apartment, and it should be coming in at the same time that Smile for the Cameras by Megan Quinn comes in. So I will be reading In Your Dreams and Smile for the Camera probably around Valentine's Day, which will be perfect. That's probably the best time of year to read romance books, in my opinion. At number 12, we have Starshipped by Cat Sebastian. Cat Sebastian writes a lot of historical fiction, sapphic romances, and I heard about this author through Carrie at Carrie Can Read. She really hyped up You Could Be So Lucky and You Could Be So Good, which I both gave 4 stars to. And Starshipped is a romance between a celebrity and her fan, which sounds really, really good. I'm super excited for it. That comes out June 12th. The next book is a book I heard about through Carly at the Pastel Bookshelf, who is a new booktuber I follow. It is a new thriller book by my new favorite thriller author, Kate Alice Marshall. I have read 3 books by her this year. What Lies in the Woods, A Killing Cold, and Rules for Vanishing, which were all 4 stars. And I will just put the video that Carly mentions this book in, because I don't have the description of the book in front of me. The next book that is on my list for 26 books I want to read in 2026 is a new release from Taylor Adams, who's another one of my favorite thriller authors. I recently reread No Exit, and I have also read The Last Word by him. Both are 4 stars. So I'm super excited for that book to come out. The next book is called Gone Before Goodbye. This book is by Reese Witherspoon from Friends and Legally Blonde and The Morning Show, and Harlan Coben, who is a popular thriller and mystery writer who I have actually never read anything by. So I am excited, and I have a feeling that Reese Witherspoon is probably going to turn this book into a movie with her production company, Hello Sunshine. So I'm excited to read this book and then eventually see how it's turned into a movie, because I think she did a really good job with turning Daisy Jones into the Six into a TV show. It's one of my favorite TV shows based on a book. The next book on my list is the 3rd book in the Stars Fall series by Kate Hewitt, which is the winter installment of this series, Snowflakes Over Stars Falls. The final book in this series, called Summer Skies Over Stars Falls, is being released in May. So that will be on my TBR for June or July. As I was saying in my reading progress video yesterday, the Stars Hollow vibes from Gilmore Girls are immaculate in this book. I have a feeling the author of this book is probably a fan of Gilmore Girls. Like me, I'm a more recent fan of Gilmore Girls. I just started to watch it 2 years ago. Currently in my introductory watch of it. I am on season 4, episode 2. And I am excited to see what the holiday version of this book will be like. This series will be like. Number 17 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. As I said, I will be finishing the rest of Harry Potter when I don't have as many books to read. So I'm predicting that I will not be reading these until like late spring, early summer, because they are the longest books in the Harry Potter series and a lot happens in them. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to read Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince in July and this book in September. The next book is this book, which I just got from Matt for Christmas along with a man called Ove. It's called Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. I read her 2 Christmas books this month during Christmas, and I heard her release from last year, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, which is like a modernized take on How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 4 stars. Her recent release from October 14th, Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal, which I feel that title references Home Alone pretty good. But as I said in my review post where I talked about Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal, I think I mentioned that book in one of my recent progress videos that I made either at the end of last month or at the beginning of this month. The main female character lacked a lot of depth, so that's why I had trouble believing in a relationship. I really loved the male main character, Max, but Betsy, who is the female main character in Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal, she could have been developed a lot better. So I ended up giving that book 2.5 to 3 stars. So this book is her summer romance from last year. Scotty Price just started a new job, and it's a real sausage fest. She's the only woman on a team filled with Brads and Chads, expecting a bachelor pad atmosphere. She is quickly corrected when she finds out everyone is happily married. In an effort to impress her boss, Scotty mentions her non-existent husband in a company meeting, but eagle-eyed Chad points out her lack of a wedding ring. Panicked, Scotty creates a new story about her unhappy marriage. Unfortunately for Scotty, her boss has a solution, a one-on-one session with the best marriage counselor in the Northeast, who happens to be her boss's husband. With no way out of her lie, Scotty agrees to see him. Frantic, she calls in help from her best friend, who sets her up with her brother, an improv-obsessed millionaire. Enter Wilder Wells. More than happy to take on a job, he teaches Scotty the main rule of improv, and always a yes. But the rule backfires during the session when Wilder signs them up for an 8-day summer marriage camp with all of Scotty's co-workers, where she'll have to share a cabin with her way too handsome fake husband. I was starting to chuckle as I was reading the last part of that description, so that should prove to you that I am excited about reading this book. Kathleen and I are reading it in July. We're reading it in July for the From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, but I'm probably going to be reading it in June just because, as I was mentioning, I'm going to be reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince in July, along with the other book that we have, which I think is this Lost and Found by Tara DeWitt. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. The reason why we picked this book for the From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR is because of the episode at the end of season 3 when they go to the beach and Phoebe goes to find her birth mother. The next book was gifted to me in May by my mom's friend Jill, and it is called Edge of Eternity by Ken Follett. This is by the same author of Pillars of the Earth, which I have not read, and this book is really, really long. So, let's see. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get around to this. Probably closer to the end of 2026, because this book is over 1,100 pages, and that's going to take a lot of focus for me. So I should probably read this when I do not have as many other books to read. I have to figure out how this is going to fit into my overall TBR. I'm going to probably slot it in the end of November, beginning of December, when the podcasts for Friends and Gilmore Girls will be ending. So that way I won't have so many books to read at the same time. That's the best method I can do this with. The next book is a recent purchase that I bought yesterday with the gift card Matt gave me for Christmas. It is called Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. If I am not mistaken, David Sedaris is a comedian on Saturday Night Live. So I'm excited to read his book. I think this is his memoir about what got him into comedy, and this is on the Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR to describe Chandler. And having not been too familiar with David Sedaris' comedy, I'm excited to see how his humor can compare to Chandler's. And I'm hoping that I really like this book. I bet that I will. Book number 23 is Going Infinite by Michael Lewis. This is a nonfiction book recommended to me by Olive at A Book Olive, and I will link the video that she mentions that in the description. She mentioned it in her video for 26 nonfiction books she wants to read in 2026. Michael Lewis is the same person who wrote Moneyball, which I read in April, and then I compared it to the movie with Brad Pitt in it, which I watched for Thief from Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR. Oh, sorry. I skipped the winners. So this is the third book in the Beartown trilogy, which I will be reading once I finish the second book. I do not have the second book yet, but I'm planning to buy it when I go to Barnes & Noble's on Tuesday, and then I will start it as soon as I buy it. Book number 24 is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. So Sarah Caroli and Destiny Sidwell and Haley Pham and Rachel Catherine all hype up this book series. They say it's similar to Gossip Girl, which I have never seen, but I have also seen Magnolia Parks on a friend's recommendation list to describe Rachel. So I'm excited to see how Magnolia fits into Rachel's character. But based on the descriptions that I've heard of Magnolia and BJ's relationship from the booktubers I have mentioned, I think that BJ and Magnolia will be really similar to Rachel and Ross. And Jessa Hastings, like, Sarah J. Maas has gotten a lot of scrutiny as of lately. I haven't watched the YouTube video yet that's about the controversy regarding her. So, I mean, the only other book I have read by Jessa Hastings was her retelling of Peter Pan that came out last year called Never, which I hated. I couldn't stand the main character. I DNF'd it at 200 pages. I also am not sure if I'm the biggest fan of her writing style either. So I don't even know why I want to read Magnolia Parks. The next book that I am having on my 2026 TBR is My Husband's Wife, which is Alice Feeney's new release for this year. I have liked Rock, Paper, Scissors by her. I gave that 3.5 to 4 stars. I have also read Good Bad Girl, which I gave 3 stars. And then I gave her release from last January. Beautiful Ugly, 3 stars. So I really hope that I like my husband's wife, Gabby Reed's, and Coffee and Tales, and also the Pastel Bookshelf have talked about it on their channels. So I'm really, really hoping that it's going to be good and better than Beautiful Ugly, because Beautiful Ugly just seemed really anticlimactic. I got through it and I gave it 3.5 stars because the ending seemed very predictable. The final book is The Conditions of Will, which is Jessa Hastings' new release from March. Rachel Catherine gave this book 5 stars, so I really hope that I like it. And Jessa Hastings also came out with a new book in September called Time of Your Life, which is set in the 1990s. I may read that book I may end up deciding to read that book instead of Magnolia Parks, actually, because that is a book I can probably relate to more. And plus, like, 50% of this TBR is dominated by books from Manhattan to Start Hollow TBR, so I really think I need a break for reading books from that TBR, so I might end up taking Magnolia Parks off and replacing it with Time of Your Life, but we'll have to see. So what is on? Do you have a TBR for books you want to read in 2026? Share what books you're hoping to read this year in the comments. Have a good day.